but to send a message to his opponent as well.
If you were the best fighter, you don't have to be intimidating nobody. The best intimidation is to be meek and be very docile for the other guy to underestimate. I'm not relatively big for a heavyweight. If you look at the guys that fight, they're much bigger, they're much taller, they have all the advantages, quote, you know what I mean, as it takes to be successful. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't consider myself an intimidating figure.
To say merely that Mike Tyson is intimidating is like saying Michael Jackson is musically talented. It has the power of understatement. The champion's anger builds to a fever as the fight approaches. The final hours in the dressing room are his private hell.
The night of the fight, it seems so long, it never comes. An hour before the fight, 3 hours before the fight, it never comes. It never comes. 10 minutes before the fight, you're gloved up, everything, and just it never comes. Once I come out the dressing room, you know what I mean, I know everything's over. All of the hard, the 3 months or whatever I trained for the fight, I mean, it's come to this final moment.
It was once said, a fighter should pray for a sound mind in a sound body. Mike Tyson is a fighter whose prayers have been answered.
I'm a master fighter. I go in there and fight. I could beat anybody in the world in fighting. You know what I mean? No, I'm not talking about going in there and master jabbing and slipping side to side. I'm talking about going there and fighting and doing everything I know with all my knowledge. And they're using everything they know. I'm the best fighter.
And now we are live once again in Korakuen Stadium in Tokyo, Japan, where coming up you are about to see Mike Tyson's 10th defense of his undisputed heavyweight championship, about scheduled for 12 rounds, against today's challenger, James Buster Douglas of Columbus, Ohio. Briefly now, let's take a quick look at some of the ways in which Mike Tyson has occupied himself during this month-long visit to Tokyo. Scenes here from some of the things that Mike did on those few occasions when he was outside the giant new Otani Hotel. He didn't go out much, spent most of his time sitting in his hotel suite, indulging in his well-known passion for martial arts videotapes. It should be pointed out that Tyson's mood on this trip was much different than that of a couple of years ago when he came here as a 21-year-old newlywed with his wife Robin and immersed himself much more fully in discovery of Japanese culture and customs. Some of the Japanese observers might have been a little surprised at the skill with which the champion clutched and tossed a pigeon here. Maybe they didn't know the well-known story to American boxing fans of how pigeon tending was the primary hobby in Tyson's painful and difficult youth. More now on the champion of first-round darkness in the land of the rising sun from our Larry Merchant.
They didn't give a title to this extravaganza, which is the custom these days, so I'm calling it the Revenge of the Financial Nerds. That's us. The Japanese have bought our Van Goghs, even some Rocky Mountains, Rockefeller Center, Columbia Pictures. But hey, we sold them Tyson Douglas. Sold it to them for $6 million, 4 times its value on the American stock exchange. Why would the shrewd businessmen in the land of the rising yen want this fight? Well, let's call it status. Status is of major importance here. That's why there are 10 golf clubs in metropolitan Tokyo with entrance requirements of $1 million to $3 million. That's why there are 3,000 ringside seats at $1,000 apiece filled tonight. And that's why you can actually buy a gift cantaloupe for $125. Saw it with my very own eyes. The only other thing I could figure is that the Japanese, who are so good at copying things, want to try to copy Mike Tyson, maybe melt down one of their sumo wrestlers. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. I don't think they could even copy an ordinary challenger, a challenger who does have a dog named Shakespeare.
The dream of becoming heavyweight champion is frozen into the icicles on Buster Douglas's face as he runs forward through the streets of his hometown, Columbus, Ohio. Douglas runs not away from his past, but toward his date with destiny. James Buster Douglas's past is a proud one. His father, Bill Douglas, was an excellent light heavyweight who fought several champions in his time. After he retired, Bill devoted his efforts to training his son, James.
I was, at birth, introduced to boxing. I had a burning desire to want to fight. I used to, harp on my father about taking me to the gym because he ran that gym. And, he kept me off for as long as he could, and eventually he just took me in. And I went in there and liked it.
As an amateur, Buster enjoyed immediate success, and he turned professional at 21. His early career was marked by striking success and discouraging failure.
James Douglas that was then isn't the same James Douglas as now. My determination level is phenomenal compared to how it was then, because I felt as though, there was a lot of things that distracted me, and I let distract me. But now, I have a total focus on what I want to do.
The man who is paid to sustain Douglas's concentration is his manager, John Johnson. Johnson learned his techniques as an assistant to one of the most demanding disciplinarians, the late Ohio State football coach, Woody Hayes.
I love John, really. John is a true man. If you got John in your corner, man, you got a good man in your corner, and I do. And, we're not only business associates, we're friends.
That friendship is but one reason Douglas remains in his childhood hometown of Columbus. This city is where all of Buster's stories begin, and he takes refuge before a big fight in the places which resonate in his memory. Like his father before him, Buster brings his son, Lamar, to the gym where it all began.
The first time I ever started boxing, put on a pair of glasses in here. Mount Vernon focus point, Mount Vernon Plaza. See, this is when we first started. The first pro fight, grandfather promoted the show, and everybody was seated on the steps here. Then they had a few chairs close by the ring, but most of those were for the boxing commissions, but it was just seating everywhere. Everybody was just seated all around, back all up into there.
6 years later, Buster met Tony Tucker for the IBF heavyweight title. He lost the fight, and his longtime trainer as well. After a series of disagreements, Bill Douglas was expelled. The Douglas family was shattered. Buster's business started from scratch.
We were all in the living room, and John pulled out this paper plate and said, well, at this point, this is what we have. What's on the plate? And on the plate was nothing. And he said, but this can turn out to be a tremendous ordeal if we all put our full effort together.
Buster has since gone on a 6-fight win streak. And even if some of those victories have been less than Tyson-esque, he has beaten enough of the right people to be ranked #2 by the IBF. But 23 days ago, a cruel blow disturbed his training. Buster's mother, Lula, died suddenly at age 46.
She meant a great deal to me, and I'm going to miss her tremendously. But, it's got to go on.
People now say Douglas has less chance than ever to win this fight.
It's easy to be negative. It's easy to give up, say to hell with it. But to be positive and be strong and have the faith, it takes a lot, and I think that by becoming a heavyweight champion, that I would be able to, show the youth here that, it's possible to fulfill your dreams.
Tonight, Buster Douglas attempts to live out his dream, a dream which sons of boxers everywhere have shared in common, to be called undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. And as if the death of his mother were not enough, in recent days, Buster Douglas has learned of yet another misfortune for one close to him. The mother of his 11-year-old son has been found to be afflicted by a severe kidney ailment, which people in the Douglas camp say could eventually threaten her life as well. You've heard the references to Mike Tyson's reign of terror. Here now some statistics which demonstrate the degree to which he has dominated the heavyweight division since becoming champion. 52 rounds in title fights, an average of only 5.2 rounds per title fight. For the moment, that is the best figure in the history of heavyweight champions. And his career knockout percentage ranks behind only that of former champion George Foreman, the Foreman record of 65-2 with 61 knockouts, including his 19